Alright, so we're going to start some inequalities, okay? Solving inequalities. Now, one thing you can remember about solving inequalities is it's pretty much the same as solving for x or whatever letter they have. It's pretty much the same stuff. There's just a couple of rules that are a little different. Now, when we talk about inequalities, here's what I'm talking about. We're talking about less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Those signs. You remember those from junior high? Okay, less than and greater than sign. 3 is less than 5. 5 is greater than 3. Stuff like that, yes? Okay, now you start putting them in equations. Now, here's your big rule right here. This is your big rule. Whenever you multiply or divide by a negative number, okay? Now, I'm going to explain that because it's not just any negative number or it can't just be anywhere in the equation. You must reverse the sign. So basically what they're saying is when you multiply or divide by a negative number in a certain area, you're going to flip the sign. So if it was less than and you flip it, what does it become? Greater than. If it was greater than, you flip it, what does it become? Less than. And so same thing with the less than or equal to, greater than or equal to. Okay, and so I'm going to make it a little simple for you so that you get, you understand it. So, here's what basically we're talking about. 3 minus 5, or 3 is less than 5. 3 is less than 5. Is it a true statement? Yes, 3 is less than 5. Okay, that's basically what that means. Alright, so now, go down here to where it says, also remember the difference in, and it says open circle. That means it's going to be basically an open circle. And then closed circle, which means it's going to be filled in. Now, if it's an open circle, here's your signs. Less than or greater than. Those go with open. That means it does not include a certain number. Does that make sense? It means it leaves that number open. Then, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to is closed. That means it does include that number. Okay? So, we'll make it very simple so you can actually kind of understand what I'm talking about. Okay, so, go back up at the top when it said multiply or divide by a negative number. Okay, so here's your rule. If x is negative, flip sign in the end. Okay, so if x is negative, you'll flip the sign in the end, not wait till the very end to flip the sign. Does that make sense? So, looking at this first one, it says solve and graph the following inequalities. So, we're going to solve this, then we're going to graph it on a number line. So, you do it the same way you've been doing it so far. So, you pretend it's an equal sign, draw your line. What do I do here? Divide by negative 2. So, that gives me this right here. X, don't worry about the sign just yet. And then what's negative 12 divided by negative 2? 6. Negative divided by negative? Positive. Now, is x negative? Is the number tied to x negative? Yes, so we're going to flip this sign. So instead of greater than or equal to, it's going to turn to less than or equal to because that was negative. So then this is our final answer. Now, the way you figure that out, or the way you graph that on a number line is I'm going to just put a little line right there and I'm going to write 6. Okay, and make it simple. Now, if you look at our sign. It says less than or equal to. Which one of these circles am I going to use? The open or the closed? The closed. So I put a closed circle. And then I'm going to shade to the left because that's the direction it's pointing. So think about it. If you draw a line in the middle of that arrow, see? I just took my sign, wrote it out here to the side, put a line in the middle of the arrow, see which way it's pointing. That's the way you shade. Okay, so I shaded this side of the number line, the left side. Make sense? Okay, so let's look at the next one. I draw my line through the sign. Now, what am I going to do here? Divide by 2/3. Now make sure you put it in parentheses. And so you get x. I'm not going to worry about the sign just yet. And then what's 10 divided by 2/3? 15. Now, was my x negative? No. So do I flip my sign? No. I just leave it alone. Okay, now I put a line right here. Write 15 down. Now look at your sign and your answer. It's greater than. So is it open or closed? Open. So you put an open circle. And then which way am I going to shade? To the left or to the right? To the right. Just like that. That's all inequalities is. It's the same stuff you've been doing. I just put in there that you may have to flip the sign. And you got to put it on a number line. Nothing really different. Okay, so now let's get into like multi-step. So if you look at the third one, draw my line. What do I do from here? Subtract 3, just like normal. So I get 4x is less than negative 16, right? Then divide by 4. And you get x. Don't worry about the sign just yet. Positive 4 or negative 4? Negative 4. Now, let's go back. Is x negative in the original problem? No. So my sign just stays the same, right? Okay, so there we go. We got x is less than negative 4. So I'm going to put a little line, put negative 4 on my numbered line. Is it open or closed? Open. So put a little open circle. Which way? What? To your left. There you go, to your left. If you don't know the direction of shading, take your sign, draw it, and then just put a line in the middle of it. And it points the direction you should shade. Pretty simple. Okay? Alright, so we good on those three. Right there. Pretty basic, right? Draw your line, solve for the letter, just like what I said at the top. Wait to flip your sign in the end. When do you flip your sign? Well, in the end, but when? Or why? When x is negative. Okay, so if x is negative, you flip it in the end. Okay? Alright, so let's flip the page. Okay, so now you got, draw your line. What do I do here? Subtract 7. So it gives me negative 3. X is greater than or equal to, what's 22 minus 7? 15. Perfect. Now what? Divide by negative 3. So I get x. Don't worry about the sign just yet. Negative 5. 15 divided by negative 3 is negative 5. Now, am I going to flip my sign? Yes. So what does it flip to? There you go. X is less than or equal to negative 5. Because that x was negative in the original problem. Okay, so now I put my line, put negative 5. Is it open or closed? Closed. And which way am I shading? To the left or to the right? To the left. Pretty simple. I mean, or is someone completely lost? Okay, so now we start getting into where we combine stuff or move a letter, you know, things like that. So look at this next one. Okay, so if you look, I got 10 right here. And then I got 6x minus 2x. Can I combine those two? Yeah, so I got 10 plus 4x is greater than 50. So now it looks like the previous problem. that we just did. Draw our line. What do I do from here? Subtract what? Minus 10. So I get 4x is greater than 40. Divide by 4. I get x and then 10. Now, am I going to flip my sign? No. Now, I told you before, look back at the original problem. Well, if you circle both your x's and you combine them, we got a positive 4, didn't we? So that's why it's a no. Okay, so now, draw your line on your number line, put 10 down. Is it open or closed? Open. To the right or to the left? To the right. Okay, so now, look at the third one. You have letters on both sides. So this goes back to Thursday and Friday, where I told you, hey, we got to get all the letters to the left. Okay, so I'm going to move that 6x over. So minus 6x. So that gives me this. 9 minus 8x is less than or equal to negative 15. Now does it look normal to work out? Yes, no? Yeah? Okay, so what do I do here? Subtract 9 from each side. So I get negative 8x is less than or equal to negative 24. Now what? Divide by what? Negative 8. So I get x and then a positive 3, right? Now, do I flip my sign, yes or no? Yes. Yes. So it becomes what? Greater than or equal to. So draw your line, put a little 3. Open or closed? Closed. To the right or to the left? To the right. Okay? So those are inequalities in basically one term. That means you have one letter, one number. So you put one dot, shade the number line. Anytime you only have one number, right here on the end, you just put one dot. Okay, makes sense. Now, compound inequalities are a little different. Okay? You still go about it the same way, except you have to break it up into two equations. So your first equation would look like this, would be this part right here. So if I was to mark this out over here and not use it. Okay, so I got negative 5, and I'm going to write this out to the side so I can actually go back and rewrite the other one. I got that right there. So, draw my line. Now, think about it. It's flipped from what you're normally used to seeing. So what do you think you do? Minus 1. So that gives me negative 6 is greater than negative 6x. Now what? Divide by negative 6. Okay? So you get this. 1 is greater than x. Or, I'm going to phrase that. Okay, so now, do I flip my sign? Yes, so it becomes less than, right? Okay? So there's that part. Okay? Now, we go back up to our original equation, and we do this part. So I got 1 minus 6x is greater than negative 11. Draw my line. What do I do here? Minus 1, so I get negative 6x is greater than negative 12. Divide by negative 6, and I get x and 2. Right? Now, do I flip my sign? Yes, so it becomes less than, right? Okay, so I have two numbers. So that means I'm going to have two dots on my, or I'm going to have two lines on my number line. And you always do it just like a number line. Smallest number comes first, biggest number comes second. Okay, so my smallest number is 1, right? and my biggest number is 2. Okay, so I got this right here. So if you look at this first one, I'm going to rewrite this, okay? Because I'm not used to seeing the number first. Does that make sense? So I'm going to flip everything. I'm going to put the X on the left and the 1 on the right and flip my sign. Think about it, it's a mirror image. If I took that whole thing and just flipped it. Does that make sense? So I want it to look like this at all times. So let's start with that 1. Is it an open circle or closed circle? Open. Okay, now let's look at the 2. Is it an open circle or closed circle? Open. Now, if you look, we're shading to the right on 1, but we're shading to the left on 2, right? So guess what goes in between? You just shade in between those. Okay, you don't have to shade all the way across and then all the way to the left. Because think about it, it's going to look like this in the end. So basically, you break it up piece by piece, right here. This 2 is an end of one side, and this 1 is the end of the left side. So you can't go past those. Does that make sense? I know it's kind of confusing, but you're alright. So let's look at the second one right here. Okay, let's break it up right here. So I got negative 11 less than or equal to 5x minus 1. Draw my line. What do I do here? Plus 1 to each side. So it gives me negative 10 less than or equal to 5x. Divide by 5. And so you get negative 2. So less than or equal to x. I don't flip my sign, right? Because x wasn't negative. Now I'm going to take that whole thing and I'm going to flip it. So look, I want the letter first. So it's going to be x is greater than or equal to negative 2. Okay, then let's work the second one. Right here. So you have 5x minus 1 is less than or equal to 4. Draw your line. What do I do from here? Add 1. So I get 5x is less than or equal to 5. Now what? Divide by 5. So I get x is less than or equal to 1, right? Do I flip my sign? No. So that one looks normal. Don't have to flip anything. Don't have to change the whole thing around. Alright, so what's my left number going to be and what's my right number going to be? Negative 2 and 1. So let's start with left. At that negative 2, open or close? Closed. The 1, open or closed? Closed. Now do I just shade in the middle? Perfect. Right there. Okay, third one. Start with this right here, negative 20 minus 4 minus 6x. Subtract 4 from each side. So it gives me negative 24. It's less than negative 6x. Divide by negative 6, right? So you get 4. Now, do I flip my sign? Yep, to greater than. And then x. Now I'm going to flip everything again because I want it to look number or letter first. So that right there. Okay, then look at the second equation. 4 minus 6x is less than 22. Draw your line, subtract 4. So you get negative 6x is less than 18, right? Divide by negative 6. X and then negative 3, right? Is x negative? So do I flip my sign? Yes, so it becomes greater than. So now, what is going to be my left number and what is going to be my right number? Negative 3 and 4. Now, On the negative 3, open or closed? Open. 4, open or closed? Open. And where do I shade? What? In the middle. Okay, so open and close, pretty simple. Yes. Okay, so less than 4. So that means that direction, right? They're just, it's backwards. That's why I asked you which number goes left. Okay, and they said, okay, negative 3 goes left because it's the smaller number, right? So then you look at this. Open, and you're shading to the right. Open, and you're shading to the left. Okay? Alright, so now, so far so good on those. Okay? Now, then you have some, what we call special cases. Okay, now when we have special cases, go about the same way. Right here, boom. Now, what are you going to do here? We got to move a letter. We got letters on both sides. Subtract 4x. So I get 0, because they cancel out, right? Is less than or equal to negative 7. Well, is 0 less than or equal to negative 7? Yeah. Well, it's not equal to, but it's less than. So, if you don't see a letter or anything like that, you either have no solution or infinite solutions. Okay, see, so if this would have said 0 is less than negative 7, okay, still wouldn't be right because negative 7 is way down there. Now, if it said 0 is greater than negative 7, it'd be yes. It'd be infinite solution. That means any number greater than 7, negative 7 would work. Okay? So, you got to look at those carefully. Okay, so on the next one, move our letter. We got minus 5x. So you got that cancels and that cancels. So you got 7 is greater than negative 8. Is 7 greater than negative 8? Yes. So this would be infinite. So you either have no solution or infinite solution. If there's no letters in there after you cancel them out. Does that make sense? Okay.